Yo, what's up? We're back, and we're gonna be doing a recap of the UFC Sweden card, and pretty crazy card. A lot of upsets. I know most people probably didn't do very well on this card. We didn't do terrible. With the first fight, Joel Alvarez against Enola Bilardo. For first round, Bilardo was able to win the round. He kind of dominated the round a little bit. Second round, Alvarez, turned it around, reverse position, got the finish. Really a low level fight. Don't really have a whole lot to say about that, but Alvarez was able to, get the win after losing his UFC debut. So good job for him to bounce back. And for Bilardo, I'm sure he's going to get another opportunity here to get a UFC win, but not very high on either guy there. And then up next, Devin Clark versus Darko Tosic. A lot of people were giving me shit about picking Devin Clark. I almost bet Devin Clark. I'm almost mad at you guys for talking me out of it. I don't know, but it's my fault. But yeah, I almost bet on Devin Clark. I didn't do it, but there were some sketchy moments in the fight where Darko landed some decent shots. He was able to, I think, take down Devin Clark at one point, but Stosic was, he was kind of what I thought he was. He was very low volume, got very tired after the first round, and Devin Clark was just able to use his savviness, his explosiveness, being the better athlete to win the decision there. I feel like he could have maybe even gotten Stosic out of there a couple times, but overall Devin Clark still showed a lot of deficiencies in fight IQ in my opinion, and I still don't trust him against higher level guys, but he's good at testing people. If they can beat Devin Clark, I think you could be pretty close to the top 15. I think Devin Clark's a pretty solid gatekeeper and a good guy to keep around in the UFC to test these up-and-coming guys like Stosic and, other guys like that. Obviously, we just saw his last opponent, Alexander Rockett. We're about to talk about him getting a big knockout. So, good win there for Devin Clark. And for Stosic, I don't know what his future holds, but he definitely needs to get a lot better if he's going to be competing, in the UFC for a long time. And then I'm next with Bay Malecki, I'm not really sure, against Duda Santana. And, the first round, Santana started fast. She got a takedown, and it looked like she was maybe going to win the fight. But second round, when Malecki got on top, you could tell she was much better on top than Santana was. She had a little bit more technique, and she won the fight. It was still, an underwhelming fight in my opinion. Not very much, great technique going on in there, but Malecki was able to get to the back at the rear naked choke, and it's good to see some 145ers fighting in the UFC, and Malecki is someone that you could potentially market. You could obviously maybe put her in there with like a Megan Anderson or someone, maybe even a little bit lower level than Megan Anderson, but I think that maybe she'll never be a champion or be like a high-level fighter, but she's someone that, you could use to build the division in its infancy type thing. So, good win there for Bay Malecki. And for Duda Santana, who knows? I don't really know what they're doing with 145, who she's going to fight after this, but we'll see what happens with Bay Malecki. And then I'm next, Frank Camacho against Nick Hein, and I'm glad I changed my pick to Frank Camacho because he looked pretty good in there. He was kind of getting beat up in the first round a little bit. Nick Hein was touching him up, but he was touching Nick Hein to the body. He was, landing some shots and breaking him down systematically, and ended up finishing him very late in the second round. Nick Hein retired, so, congrats to Nick Hein on a great career, but Frank Camacho obviously caught him at a good time in his career to beat him, and he went in there, he got the performance, and got a finish, got his first UFC finish, so good job by Frank Camacho. He had a lot of sacrifices, switching his camp and all that, so big win for him there to get back on the right track, and we'll see if he can string some wins together now, but, good win, and great career from Nick Hein. And I'm next to Leonardo Santos against Stevie Ray, and, man, Leonardo Santos came back looking, like he never left. He 3 years off, came back, got a first-round knockout. Pretty vicious knockout too. Stevie Ray was out cold, and tough loss there for Stevie Ray. Obviously, it shows that his chin's probably diminished quite a bit, and Santos, he's obviously probably gonna 5 in a row now. I don't really know what he's gonna do with him. He's kind of in a weird spot because of his layoff, because he hasn't really fought many of these newer breed guys at 155. And who knows if he could still compete at like the top 15 level, but that was a very impressive win to go in there after 3 years off, get a first round knockout against a tough guy. So good job there by Leonardo Santos, and we picked that fight correctly. I didn't think he was going to get a knockout like that, but good job there by Santos. And up next with Lena Landsberg against Tanya Avenger. Man, wasn't expecting this outcome at all. Lena Landsberg went in there and took care of business against Tanya Avenger, beat her up in grappling, and very impressive. She was able to get half guard control on top, land some big elbows, cut Avenger open, and Avenger in the second round looked like she was maybe close to getting a rear naked choke, but it seemed like the whole fight she just wasn't herself. Maybe age just caught up to her eventually, but probably one of the worst performances I've seen from Avenger, and didn't really show anything out there. She got absolutely dominated. Huge win for Lena Landsberg. If she didn't win that fight, I think she would have got cut. I think Avenger might get cut, so that's tough for her. I don't know what she wants to continue doing either, but for Landsberg, she's going to get another fight. She called out Aspen Ladd, and she looked really good. I don't know if it's a case of her looking really good because Avenger fell off or she had a lot of improvements, but if Landsberg can get on top of some other people, she could definitely do some damage. So a big win there for Lena Landsberg, and we'll see if she can continue the hot streak a little bit. Then I'm next with Sergey Kandasco against Rostem Akman. This was a good fight. It was back and forth, but I didn't think it was like the highest level fight. I thought Sergey really was gassing hard, and if Rostem knew how kind of to put the pressure on a little bit better, he maybe could have won the fight, but Rostem was getting tired too, and Sergey was able to, gut it out. He got some takedowns, good reversals, a lot of scrambles on the ground, and thought, he was winning the striking probably, and good win there by Sergey. He was able to pull it out, and we'll see what he does against a guy who's actually, not coming in on short notice in his first UFC fight, because I don't know if Sergey's necessarily good enough to stick around, to be honest, and Rostem either. I think that this fight was, not the greatest fight in terms of skill level, but it was very fun to watch, and props to both guys for putting on a very fun fight there. Then I'm next with Daniel Tamer against Sung Bin Jo. I bet on Tamer, and he went in there and he dominated the fight because Sung Bin Jo is just, I don't know what his game plan was, but didn't really do much. I don't know if he was spooked by the power in the very beginning against Tamer, but he kind of just stood in front of him and didn't really let go. In the last round, maybe like the last 30 seconds, seemed like he finally got some urgency, let go of a couple shots, but yeah, Tamer was able to dominate the fight. He walked him down, landed big shots, leg kicks, overhands, and very emotional win for him. He finally got his first UFC win, so great job there by Tamer to get a win in his home country, and happy he got the win there for me. And, I don't know if he's going to win that many more fights in the UFC. He still kind of fought the same exact style where he was diving in with big shots, but he paced himself a little bit better. Seemed like his cardio held up a little bit better, and he definitely is dangerous in that first round. Joe definitely has a very good chin, and he has some intangibles he could work with. It's just seems like he's just not there yet. I don't know if he's going to stick around in the UFC, because if you can't beat Daniel Tamer, I don't know how many guys you're going to be able to beat in here, but we'll see what happens with Sung Bin Jo. Next with Christos Giagos, Damir Hadzovic. Way wrong on this fight. Giagos came in there and looked phenomenal. Best performance of his career. Really beat up Hadzovic on the feet. He was able to counter him when he was walking him down. And Hadzovic is a really tough guy, man. Ate a bunch of shots, kept coming forward, never stopped coming forward, but was very diminished after he got rocked a couple times. And Giagos was able to land takedown after takedown as well, and just dominated the fight. Pretty shocking performance in my opinion there as well for Giagos. He had a great win there, and if he could start putting it together like that on a regular basis, he could definitely be a factor in the division, because that was some pretty good stuff there. He didn't really get, he maybe got a little bit tired, but he was able to keep his composure, do what he needed to do to get his rest in certain periods of time, and very, very professional, very good performance there by Christos Giagos, and he should be getting a top 15 opponent next, in my opinion. That was a very, very good performance by him. And for Hadzovic, I don't want to say that kind of exposed him and showed his level, but if he has takedown defense like that, he's never going to be able to rise the ranks into contendership. So we're going to see what has to happen with Damir Hadzovic. I feel like he has, he's very explosive. He has knockout power. He's extremely tough, great chin. Maybe if he comes to a better camp, comes to the U.S., maybe he could do something. But at this point, that was a, Yago's kind of exposed Hadzovic there a little bit. Next, Makwan Amir Khani against Chris Fishgold. And, Amir Khani, I don't think his striking looked that much better, really. But, I thought Fishgold won the first round. I thought that the second round was pretty close, but Fishgold was getting a little bit tired. And, Amir Khani was able to eventually lock in that anaconda. It looked like Fishgold really didn't want to tap, but eventually had to tap out. And it was a little weird, Fishgold was, very confrontational all week about, Makwan being disrespectful and this and that. And then he was like buddy-buddy with him during the fight. So I don't know where all that energy was during the fight that he had, in fight week. I wish he would have kind of kept that mean streak and kind of tried to put it to Makwan a little bit more early. But Fishgold was, I don't know. He didn't seem like he had like that same exact intensity that I thought he would. And Makwan was able to get it done. He got an anaconda choke. And hopefully he could start fighting a little bit more active. And we could see how he would fare against higher level competition, because I think that he is a difficult fighter to fight just because of his wrestling and scrambling ability. And, I still don't think maybe he's necessarily a top 10 guy, though. But we're going to have to see what happens with Makwan. Up next, Alexander Rockett against Jimmy Manawa. And, man, nasty knockout. Very fast. 47 seconds into the fight. Head kick knockout for Alexander Rockett. It looked like Jim Manawa was out for a couple minutes. And, pretty scary knockout there. And Rockett looks like the real deal, man. Very athletic. Obviously, you could see he could close the show with one shot. Very confident in himself. He's just improving all the time. Seems like his camp is doing some crazy stuff in terms of preparation. They were talking about his breathing exercises, working with some military guys. So definitely is all in on this, and he's trying to kind of give himself every advantage he can. So, great job there to get the win, and it's good that he got the win there. The young blood coming up at 205. 205 is starting to look much more interesting than it did, a couple years ago. And for Manawa now, that's 3 knockout losses in his last 4 fights, and that was a pretty vicious one. So it's going to be interesting to see what he wants to do if, maybe that was his last fight. But he didn't say anything about it yet, and I don't want to say that he's going to retire because I still think that he could potentially win some fights. Obviously, he got caught very early there. So, who knows what Jim Manawa is going to do. But I definitely feel like he needs to take a step down in competition. And, so that was not a good loss there for Jim Manawa. But I would love to see Rockett, fight another one of these contenders that are maybe a little bit older, maybe like a Glover Teixeira. I wouldn't really want to see him fight like a Johnny Walker yet because I don't really want to take away a prospect like that, kill one off. But very interesting guy there at 205. And then next, another 205 fight with Anthony Smith against Alexander Gustafsson. And, it seemed like Gustafsson was winning the fight fairly easily. He was up 3-0. Thought he was winning the 4th round as well. And, he hurt Anthony Smith multiple times. But, he made a mistake. And Anthony Smith capitalized, took his back when he went for that kind of hip throw, sacrifice throw type thing. And Gustafsson didn't really have anything on his back, man. It was a little bit weird. It's like, same thing with John Jones. It's like when Anthony Smith took his back, flattened him out, Gustafsson, he couldn't shrimp out. He couldn't do anything. It's kind of, couldn't get his base. It seemed like he was just defenseless there. Anthony Smith had extremely great control. So, I don't know what happened to Gustafsson on the bottom. It seemed like he was a little bit better with his defense there, but Anthony Smith locked in that rear naked choke, and, Lionheart's a good nickname for him, man. You can never count this guy out. He always has these finishes where he's coming from behind late rounds, and he's silent. And he's someone that you have to take seriously now. All these victories that he's gotten at 205.